Hey everyone, it's Morgan here. We're talking about album of the week, and ooh, this one is a doozy. We're going with Miles Davis and the BitchesBrew album. Came out in 1970. Now, Miles is a jazz guy. Back in the mid 1940s, he was playing with John Coltrane, and through the 40s and the 50s, he toured with everyone. He played with everyone. Cannonball Adderley, okay, great saxophone player along with Miles. He was just the trumpet guy. Truly hit, I think, the pinnacle in 1959 with the Kind of Blue album. And we featured this one last year. Kind of Blue was just jazz as you always imagined it. He had done another album a few years before that called Cool Jazz, which was really good. Now, during the 60s, Miles changed, okay, like lots of people did. And by late 69, he wanted to do something different. And he had brought in a whole bunch of different people. I mean, Herbie Hancock was with him for a while. But he hooked up with an English guitarist named John McLaughlin. Now, this is the greatest guitarist that you've never heard of. This is a guy, he gave guitar lessons to Jimmy Page when Page was young, okay? Now, what they did was completely different than anything before. And Miles had grown tired with the traditional jazz approach. He wanted to do something different. At one point, he even claimed that playing his old songs actually made his mouth hurt. He just did not enjoy doing it. So they went into the studio, big group of guys, with a very different approach. 2 drummers, 2 piano players, 2 bass players, one on stand-up bass, one on Fender bass. The 2 drummer thing got picked up by a lot of rock bands. The Grateful Dead eventually ended up doing it, the Allman Brothers. And in a very short time, they put together what is called BitchesBrew. And I have no idea what the name means. I've heard so many different stories that you just can't pick which one is right. And they put down some really long tracks with a lot of improvisation in them. And it turned out over this double album, 2 LPs, there were only like 6 songs, I think. Now, the 2 really classic ones on here would be the title track, BitchesBrew, and then one called Miles Lays the Voodoo Down. Mistakenly, a lot of people call it Miles Runs the Voodoo Down, but it kind of changes the meaning. Say Miles is laying down the music. There's some voodoo going on in here. Okay, this is different. This album was the birth of a completely new type of music, jazz fusion. Funk came out of this, all right? And a lot of people that you can trace back through Motown, who actually call themselves the Funk Brothers, Motown's house band, would have a big impact on this. And then in the 1970s, funk would just explode with bands like Earth, Wind and Fire and Parliament Funkadelic, and eventually turning into R&B, rap, and hip-hop. So you can pretty much trace the beginnings of hip-hop back here to the BitchesBrew album. Now, you need to listen to it, but you might hate it. It's an acquired taste. I've had some students that I've told about the album in the past, and they said, went home, turned out Dad had a copy, played it, didn't like it, and Dad made me listen to it for a week, and now I think it's utterly amazing. So it's worth checking out. It's different. Now, for a contrast, what I'd also like you to listen to is Miles Davis' Kind of Blue from 1959. An amazing track starts it out called So What? And Miles with his trumpet, I mean, you can hear that trumpet singing, So What? Great track next called Freddie Freeloader. And then pretty much the pinnacle of the album is a piece called All Blues. And I've heard the story, the rumor, that when they recorded All Blues, he walked in, looked at the drummer, and just hummed something for a minute, and looked at everybody and said, okay, we're going to do this in B. And that was it. And the track came from that. So really an amazing piece. I don't know if that story is true or not, but it's a great story. Okay, Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, 1970, truly the birth of a new type of music. All right, thanks for tuning in. This is Morgan signing off.